saying that I want you at the semester end to write an essay on your pet at home. This student who had always gotten A's and A pluses sat down and took his time 2 or 3 evenings where he really framed this essay as best he could, describing his pet, describing down to their eyelashes and teeth and everything you could imagine about a pet. Used poetic prose, handed his paper in, and awaited his closing essay of the year to be marked at least an A, if not A+, as every other essay he had written that year. That particular Friday, his instructor came into class and handed out the papers to all of the students, and people collected their papers and saw their grades. To his surprise, his utter shock, he got an F on his paper. He was stunned. How could I get an F? This was the best work I've done. I was more deliberate. I took more time. What is wrong with the teacher? He was so shaken that he waited until after class, waited for the other students to leave. And he asked, could he see the instructor? He wanted to discuss with her why she had failed his paper. She said, sure, you can have a seat. She waited for the last of the other students to leave. He looked at her, he says, why did you fail me? I've never got a failing grade. This is my best work. I put a lot of effort in it. Everything was correct. She says, oh no, it was great. Poetic, words used, every punctuation there, grammar correct. It was probably one of your finest works. He said, then why did you fail me? She says, you forget. And she looked at him with a smile. She said, 4 years ago, I've been here many years. 4 years ago, I gave the same assignment. And your brother Eric was in my class. And he wrote an essay very similar to this. And he looked at the teacher and smiled himself this time. He says, oh, now I understand the problem. You think I plagiarized and I copied my brother's work. He said, the problem is not that I'm a plagiarist. The problem is that my brother and I grew up in the same house, and we had the same dog. If those of us today sound like the activists of yesterday, it's because we're fighting the same dogs that Roberson and King and others had to fight. The same dogs that felt they had a right to the resources in Africa and a right to the natural resources and oil in the Middle East and had a right to profile people in England and had a right to kill people from Lawrence to Amadou Diallo, from Adams in England to Sean Bell. Those dogs are still here. And as long as we got to face these dogs, we got to face them telling the same story. Post-racial, well, let's look at that. Today, in America, blacks are still double unemployed than whites. Today, 2010. Today, we are still #1 in the 9 worst diseases in America. Today, we are disproportionately uninsured with health care. Today, we still are 3 times more likely to be incarcerated, charged with the same crime, same criminal background. Today, we are still 4 times more likely to be turned down for a bank loan. Same credit, same assets, same liabilities as a white counterpart. So we are not post-racial. We are in a better position to get beyond racism, but do not confuse positioning from arrival. When I left the United States the night before last and began the flight to London, we got halfway across the Atlantic. We got in a storm. There was turbulence. There was shaking on the plane. An hour and a half later, we had gotten through the storm, and soon I could see the skyline of London. I did not get off the plane because we were in a better position. equal opportunity to race. So someone asked me today, well, are you saying there's a race problem in England? Well, you tell me. Tell me whether tonight, if a black and white child born at the same time in the UK tonight will live the same life on an average, will they have the same opportunities, same equal protection under the law, same advantages, same disadvantages. Until you can say that, we're not post-racial. Now, there are those that say we're past race. Now, funny, they were the same ones a few years ago that said it's too early to deal with race. If you read Martin Luther King's book, 64, they said he wrote a book, Why We Can't Wait, because they had charged him with premature moving too quickly. So we're either too early or too late. So somebody tell me where in history the oppressor ever said this is the time to deal with this. It is never on the calendar of the powerful and the rulers to deal with your liberation. You must put it on the calendar. And if you think that you can get there by befriending your way to liberation, or by cozying up to liberation, and by being friendly and people will like you into making you equal, there's nowhere in recorded history that's the case. You can't cocktail your party into equality. I debated not long ago a self-described black conservative in the States. And I say self-described because one of the reasons I can't understand black conservatives is they have nothing to conserve. And he told me, he said, Sharpton, I do not agree with civil rights. I don't agree with the mobilizations and the registered voters and the marching and the protests. I don't agree with all of that. All this civil rights stuff didn't make me. He says, I made it on my own merit. He said, look at my resume. I went to the right schools. I was a member of the right fraternity. I engaged in the right sororities. I ran in the right circles. Read my resume. Civil rights didn't write my resume. I told him, you're right. Civil rights did not write your resume. Civil rights made somebody read your resume. You are not the first qualified Negro in America. We've always had blacks qualified. It took movements for your qualifications to be considered. We were qualified to play baseball in America before Jackie Robinson. America was not mature enough to let us play. And we were qualified to be president before Barack Obama. We had to wait for America to grow up. Therefore, is that you must be engaged in a protracted, disciplined, determined struggle, that you will settle for nothing less than what is your equal parts in any other segment of society.